Coming up tonight, find out how to recover data from a deleted hard drive. And what does a desktop printer have in common with a pair of bifocals? The answer may surprise you. Plus, forget PCs, run Windows right inside of your Mac. Live from the Tech TV studios in San Francisco, it's the Screensavers!
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Screensavers. I'm Patrick Norton.
And I'm Kevin Rose. Thanks for joining us on the Screensavers. This is the show that keeps you in close touch with all things happening in the world of technology. Now, Sarah and I just got back last night.
How was it?
It was awesome.
Where were you?
We were in Nashville, Tennessee.
What were you doing?
Signing some autographs, meeting the people, going out there. I found out I cannot line dance. I don't think geeks can dance whatsoever. So
That's actually not true. Many obscure
can
forms of dance. Well, I don't think slam dancing counts. I'm not saying me. I've seen geeks line dance.
I'd love to see you do the Running Man. Would you do that for us?
Not in this lifetime.
Okay.
But we'll talk about it.
We had a great time.
For a cash donation. Anything.
How much are you talking? I'll give you $20 right now. You do the Running Man.
Not even close to the price point. So you went to Nashville. You met people. What's the weirdest thing you signed while you were there?
I signed a 40. Some guy brought in a 40 for me to sign.
That would be a 40-ounce premium serving of
malt
liquor beverage.
Yes.
For those of you who aren't familiar with this language.
Also, I signed a shoe. This really nice girl brought me a nice Modest Mouse
No
pin.
sweat socks?
No sweat socks. You've signed sweat socks, have you not?
Leo and I signed a clean sweat.
Somebody wanted a pair of Dan's boxers signed, but I did not bring any with me. Yeah, I did.
What can I say? www.buyfoosboxers.com.
There you go. Not bad, huh?
Nice.
I didn't bring any with me. There's no way I'm touching those things.
You could put them in little sealed baggies.
No.
Was it fun?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We had a great time. We had some great food. I mean, it's awesome food up there. Great barbecue. It was just, it was amazing.
It's a good
thing. Cool, though.
Amazing show for you tonight, folks. I'm going to talk to you about, whether or not your data is gone. You sell a computer, the computer's gone, but is your data gone? We're going to talk about erasing and recovering data.
That's a big deal. People are buying computers off of eBay, and they're getting all the data off, and they're buying like $100
credit card numbers.
Yeah, I know. That's scary.
Yeah, so we're going to talk to you about how to protect yourself there. And you're running Windows on a PowerBook G4?
Well, last week we showed you how to run OS X inside of Windows XP, and this week I'm going to show you how to run on your Mac, actually Windows XP or 98 inside of your Mac. And it's very stable. Performance issues we'll talk about in a little bit, but it's pretty cool.
Joshua, what are you doing? It's Monday, man. You're not supposed to be here until Thursday.
You know, Patrick, Kevin, I got $20 more to have Patrick do the Running Man. So we're up to 40 now. $40.
Paul, you have any money on this? Paul's got 100.
Piling it up.
Oh, we got 100. That's $100.
Then we're getting closer.
Come on, Pat.
And we'll keep going.
No, it is Monday.
By the end of the show,
but I'm not doing the LAN party as we normally do. Today we thought, it's Monday. It's crazy day. We're going to open up a LAN party for our viewers that are here in the audience. Some kids from some classes from the Cappuccino High School. Somewhere. Where are you guys from? Cappuccino High School.
San Bruno, California.
Okay, thank you very much. So we set up a LAN party. Anybody that's out there right now, go start up Unreal Tournament 2004 and look for the Screensavers LAN party. You can play against these guys, see if you can beat them. And back to you guys.
What game?
Unreal Tournament 2K4.
Thank you.
Nice.
Very cool.
Full version or just the demo?
The full version.
Okay, full version.
Don't ask me any more questions.
Right now. Go to the website. Dan?
And Dan?
By the way, I just want to let you guys know that David Prager can do the Running Man.
He can.
And
he can. Prager, our behind-the-scenes
Where's
producer.
Prager,
come on.
I think he's in the control.
He's in the control.
Maybe later. But anyways, give me a call. The phone number is 888-989-7879. Also email us at thescreensavers@techtv.com. And we're giving out a free Screensavers t-shirt if you have a net cam. So there you go. Back to you guys.
Excellent.
Time for Sarah. You got the tech news for us today?
I do. I have the tech news that caught all of our eyes this morning. First one, network giant Cisco may have been the victim of source code theft. Earlier reports say that hackers broke into Cisco's corporate network and stole around 800 megabytes of source code for iOS 12.3 and 12.3T. According to a company statement, Cisco is aware that a potential compromise of its proprietary information occurred and was reported on a public website just prior to the weekend. Obviously, the company is investigating the situation.
No, this has been nothing but a nightmare for Cisco over the last few weeks.
Cisco is like one of the most reliable, stable. I mean, basically they make routers.
We're talking
and
enterprise
switches
equipment here. This is what runs the backbone of the internet.
Basically, big, complicated, incredibly robust, secure devices that connect information. Huge number of these. Is 12.3 and 12.3T, are those actual router OSs?
No, they're part of the OS that they install inside of the routers. Mm-hmm. And supposedly someone downloaded the actual source code.
Right.
And they went to the news group and they're claiming, I downloaded all the source code, and everyone's like, we don't believe you.
Yeah, whatever.
And they posted a bit of it on the web so that they had proof that they actually had downloaded. Whether they got the full 600 megabytes or not, we don't know. Whether that's just a source code that was available somewhere else, we don't know what happened yet, but they are freaking out. I mean, this is just...
Right? If you have a proprietary, secure environment that's designed to basically keep things like this from happening, is to have a bunch of people out there looking over your source code. This is not open source. This
right.
is not, they don't
this
get
is
happy
closed
about
source.
people looking.
Well, they're worried if people start looking and digging into the source
right.
code, they might be able to find vulnerabilities that their programmers haven't fixed yet. And that's a bad thing because then they can compromise the routers, gain access to them, shut down hubs of the internet, all different kinds of things can happen.
So if you're running Cisco equipment, keep an eye peeled in case something weird happens. And if it does, call Cisco. Tell them to put up a better firewall. That's right.
Next story is bound to make some fur fly. A recent study raises some doubts about whether Linus Torvalds single-handedly invented the Linux operating system. The study of the open source movement was conducted by the Alexis de Tocqueville Institution, who just so happens to receive funding from Microsoft. I'm not saying that's what's going on. I'm just pointing something out.
It's funny, there was another study here a few weeks ago that said open source software can actually help terrorists.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just...
Open source software costs more to run. Mm-hmm. Case in point, OpenOffice, free. Just about as complicated to learn as any other Microsoft Office.
Microsoft Office,
except I didn't have to drop $600 to get to the point where I found out there was no manual in the box. Yeah, this is like, hi, we're Microsoft. We own the vast majority of the operating system sales in the universe. Mm-hmm. And there's this open source thing. It's robust, it's reliable, it's secure, it's taking away our lunch meat, and we're ticked off about it. They've actually sent out internal memos that say, okay, we're officially scared and frightened of Linux because it's free software. And it's more secure.
Well, that's all there is to it. I mean, if it's free software, how can you compete against free? You really can't.
It's tough.
It's as good.
It's difficult. You can still sell services and support. What's interesting, those are like, Linus didn't invent Linux. Linus didn't have to invent Linux. What did he do? He founded an entirely new system for manufacturing code and bringing it together and developing it. It's like Henry Ford didn't invent the automobile. No, but he perfected mass production. That's why we remember him. He made it capable for anybody to buy an automobile with practically
You're fired
no
up
money.
about this.
I'm picked.
You know what? How about a little Running Man to calm you down?
Close.
Little Running Man, come on. 150.
You're getting closer. Alan Jones, Sarah, great news.
Thanks for the news.
Linus rules, Microsoft has really ticked us off again. It's the Running Man's the whole. We'll explain. It's probably a little before your time, Sarah.
Running Man is. I'm just don't know where the show's going.
Anger, bitterness. Alan joins us on the Tech TV Netcam network from Three Rivers, Michigan.
Hey, Alan.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Good.
Doing good.
Yourself?
Hey, I'd like to know how to activate Windows firewall.
Okay. You're running Windows XP?
Yes, I am.
Cool. So go into the site now. I'm all calm, cool, and collected. It's time to demonstrate.
Relax, breathe.
Right. So if you go in here and you're going to be like, oh, where is it? So we're going to the control panel.
Okay.
And we're going to find somewhere near should be network connections. There it is. We're going to double click on that.
Okay.
And it's going to show you, in this case, we've got a 1394 connection and a LAN connection. That's our local area connection. It's our Ethernet. So we're going to right-click on that.
Okay.
We're going to go to Properties.
Now, same thing if you have a modem, by the way. Are you using dial-up or are you using your cable modem or DSL?
I'm using dial-up.
Okay, so you're going to want to do the same thing through your dial-up connection.
Exactly. So we're going to click Advanced here, and it says Internet Connection Firewall. Protect my computer and network by limiting or preventing access to this computer from the Internet. Good. We're going to click on that. We're going to hit OK. And when we're done in a couple seconds, we're going to see a little tiny lock. I don't know if you can see it.
Let's do the large icon.
The big icons. I can never remember where that's at.
Yeah.
View, toolbars. There you go. Icons. So you see that little tiny lock up there?
Yes.
That means it's turned on. The firewall's turned on. Now you notice if you look to the left of that icon, that local area connection, there's this 1394 connection. Turning on the firewall for one connection does not turn it on for all of your connections. So you're going to have to individually go through and do the same little rigmarole to turn that on.
Not that you would need a firewall for your 1394.
No, but if for some reason you're the guy who's actually logging on to the internet over the 1394 connection, you should turn it on there too.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So what's interesting, You probably don't need a firewall because you're connecting over a modem. You probably don't need a firewall. Anybody who's connecting over a cable modem absolutely needs a firewall, either a hardware one between their home network and the internet, or a software one on the systems. This is not the best firewall. It's kind of a one-way firewall. It doesn't track anything outgoing from your system. So if you already have stuff loaded on your system, whether it's a Trojan or a weird piece of software, it's not going to detect outgoing
it's a very static firewall, meaning that it's based on rules, and they say they're going to close a set of ports, and by default, Microsoft picks out a set of ports that they believe you should be locked off from.
Right.
So it might lock off some of the services that you like. If you have trouble playing online games, if you're a big gamer, or you happen to have trouble getting on, like, say, ICQ or instant messaging, you're going to want to go into the settings here. Here's actually some of the ports that you can enable, and you click these little checkboxes and enable the ports so that it'll pass the traffic through. So here's an example of, like, if you're running an FTP server or a Telnet server or a web server, you want to open those ports up so that the information can go to and from your computer.
Yeah, what's funny is, like, it basically will keep stuff from coming onto your system, but it won't deal with stuff going off of your system. It's not a particularly brilliant firewall that way. What's nice, the Service Pack 2 they're coming out with is a much more robust firewall.
So this is a machine that you actually downloaded an advanced copy of Service Pack 2.
Right.
It's not out yet. It's still going to be a few months. But here's what it looks like.
It's much different. It's like, okay, we can turn it on. We can not allow exceptions. That basically means you cannot let anything, go through without, even with permissions. Again, you can set it up with different settings, and it goes into the advanced settings, which allows you to create security logs and all sorts of other stuff. We're going to look more at that.
Yeah.
We know a lot of you want us to review Service Pack 2. We're waiting until it ships. They have a candidate for release, or RC1, which basically means it's almost going gold. We're going to wait till it actually physically goes gold before we review it, because there's nothing worse than reviewing a bunch of features in something and finding out half of them weren't included, or better features were included when it finally does ship. So for those of you who want us to review Service Pack 2, hold on, we're going to do it.
From what we can tell right now, it looks like they've greatly improved the firewall, which we're stoked about. Anytime they improve a firewall is awesome.
Better security.
Yeah.
Then you can slag on Linus. Good call, Alan.
Thanks for the call.
Oh, you know what? He gets a free Screensavers t-shirt just for being on a net cam. I'm going to get hit with one. We're just getting started. Right before I beat Fu, MIT student inventor Saul Griffiths shares with us some of his cool inventions. And after the break, you sold your personal PC, but did you sell your personal information along with it? We're going to show you how to obliterate data so you can sell the hard drive without going to these extreme hard drive cleansing measures. From the street.
G4 Tech TV, coming May 28th. Stay connected.
Demonstrated a few times, most notably an MIT study, basically bought a bunch of hard drives at flea markets, eBay, wherever they got them, and they found out most often they either had data on it that was not erased, that was not even deleted, or had easily recoverable data on the hard drive. Why do you care? You might not care about family pictures or your homework. You might care about your quick and financial data, credit card numbers, or anything else you store. Remember something. If you sell a computer, if you don't erase the information on the drive, you're giving it away to anyone.
And we're not talking just about formatting. You said if you don't erase, you have to overwrite that data with random zeros and ones to really get rid of it.
Check this out. We actually just deleted some data off this hard drive right here, right? Okay. This is our pretend hard drive right up here. Our pretend hard drive, we took a system. Let's go right back up. In this drive right here, basically, we grabbed out of another system, and we basically right-clicked on it and deleted the contents, and then we did a quick format on it, right? Okay. So we've jury-rigged that into our system here. So this is the one we formatted. We've done a full format, not a quick format, a full format.
So pretty much the way you would if you were going to sell it. Exactly. You do a full format, then reinstall.
Now, this isn't the cheapest software on the planet, but it's pretty good software. It's on track. It's easy to recover. It's like a $1,400 data recovery program. You don't need to spend that much. It just happens to be one of the more attractive ones we've seen. And this is the drive we just talked about that we formatted. So we start rolling through here, and we're like, oh, well, each of these blue checks means there's information on there. And as you start digging down, it's like, wow, a lot of files are being recovered. In fact, all users, default users, let's just start clicking in all of that, and in through here in crypto RSA, oh, well, there's somebody's keys and media information. Basically, what we're saying here is formatting a drive just basically tells the drive there's nothing there anymore. It may not actually erase any of the data.
So it looks like you were able to get pretty much everything back from the drive.
Yeah.
I don't see really anything missing. I mean,
no. And if this was your Quicken data, your credit card numbers, or your love letters, or whatever it is you don't want other people to have, and even if you don't care about what's on the system, it's still a good idea to format it because it's just, you never know what you forgot about in some dark corner. If nothing else, you don't want to give away, oh, I don't know, your Microsoft Windows XP registration code so that somebody doesn't put it up on a crack site, so you know, all the little Where's Kitties can now use your code to use for thousands of illegal installations of Windows XP. So erase the drive. There's a couple things you can do. The other thing is it's real simple. Like, we have our little mock folder up here in the financial info. We installed Eraser on here. Now, Eraser is designed to do secure erasing of files. It means it does multiple wipes, multiple passes.
That's probably my favorite one is Eraser. It's open source. It's really cool.
It's zeros and ones. Can you do like 32 passes of random zeros and ones? It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
In theory, once that's done, it's like the NSA might be able to get your data.
Maybe.
Maybe.
But we don't even know about that.
We don't even know about that.
We've heard that if they use electron microscopes, but I mean, unless it's a matter of national security, there's no way they're even going to go to that.
Or at least a really bored graduate student with a lot of time. We're pretty sure they're not going to do that. But once it's installed, it's a real click. You basically decide what you want to erase. And look, we've got the little erase click on there. We're going to click on that. Or should we want to erase these, 8 files in one folder and go to options. And there it is, the Gutman. 35 passes of zeros and ones. And the other thing you can do is
actually... The DoD spec is only 7 passes.
And that's pretty gone by most normal standards. And you can also go ahead and actually nuke all of any unavailable unused disk space in your system, but it's just that simple to properly erase it. Just hit yes, and look, it's doing.
You know what my favorite feature of this program is? It's the secure move, and it's really cool. So think about the times that you're moving a document from one place to the other, maybe from your hard drive on into your off the main desktop into your My Documents or something. Rather than it takes that space that it was living on your desktop and overwrites it and then moves it to the new space, which is really cool. And all you have to do is right-click, drag, and then choose Secure Move, which is also really handy.
Which is
awesome. It's a great little utility.
They also have another good one in there, Create Nuke Boot Disk. What that means, if you still have a floppy drive in there's some that actually do it on a CD-ROM or CDR. But basically what that does is allows you to create a floppy disk. You insert it, it automatically boots like any other operating system installation does. And what it does then, it basically offers you the ability to wipe multiple passes, DoD wipes, every single sector on that hard drive.
Well, that's important because not only deleting your My Documents, but there's also temporary internet files. You want to delete the entire drive or erase the entire drive, and you can't do that while Windows is running.
Correct.
So you have to use a boot disk, whether it be a CD-ROM or a floppy, and that's cool.
Are you picking up? We want you to make your data go away when you sell your computer. You can reinstall Windows XP or Windows whatever. You can give the disk away with the system. But at the very least, make sure you've done a secure wiping of any of your personal information files in there. And we really recommend Autoclave is one, Eraser is another that have disks that allow you to boot to it and erase everything on the system. It's a really good idea, and it's a really good way to keep your information safer and more secure. We got a huge list of powerful hard drive erasing utilities, including for Linux and OS X on our website. Go to thescreensavers.com. Check it out, ladies and gentlemen.
And these are free.
We like free.
Which is always nice.
Free's good.
Now here's Sarah with a quick tip.
Thank you. If you need to use the search feature in XP, there's a very quick way to do it right from your right-click context menu. Let's just say I'll go to My Documents. I just want to right-click and choose Search. Now if I maximize this window here, you can see that it's already chosen Look in My Documents on the left-hand side. It's very easy. I've already narrowed down my search. Loving it. Still to come, Leo joins us to show you how to track Wi-Fi setups using a web key generator. And up next, our next caller, Mike, wants to save some space in his PC. A rounded table's the answer. Find out when the Screensavers continue.
G4 Tech TV, coming May 28th. Stay connected.
Don't forget to register for this week's Screensavers LAN party powered by NVIDIA. Everyone go buy your copy of Unreal 2K4 right now and practice because we're playing it. This week we're going to play the Assault game type. We played this a while back in the demo. The gist of the game is that one team defends a base while the other attacks it, then you switch, and it's pretty self-explanatory from there. Then you just kill everybody. So go to our website and click on Join Our LAN Party to register. You've got to have the full version to play with us this week. Good luck. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Brenton.
You are welcome.
Mike joins us on the Tech TV Netcam network from Windsor, Ontario, Canada. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Good. Yourself?
Good. Hey, Patrick, I've got a loony to get you to do a dance.
Nice. Come
Great.
on, Pat.
So I can buy a Dr. Pepper in Canada. That's a beautiful coin, though. I do have a loony I saved from my last trip to Canada.
We have the toonies, too. You should get one of those.
Ooh, that's the next step. My Canadian monetary collection.
My question is, what are the pros and cons of rounded IDE cables?
Oh, man. This was a huge debate not too long ago.
Yeah, I was going to say, rounded IDE cables are pretty new. I mean, this was within the last couple of years that they came out. It used to be the flat, now we've got the serial ATA.
Yes, start putting them. But you know what? I got an idea. Let me, Mike. I'm going to toss us. We're going to run over to the lab. We've got a bunch of cables, and Yoshi and I.
I'm going to raise some money for your dance.
You raise money for the dance. I'm going to go meet up with Yoshi. But basically, Mike, I don't know if you can hear me, but not too long ago, people had started making actually rounded cables by themselves, and they started out for two reasons. One, somebody stole our
X-Acto knife. Yes.
Our X-Acto knife again. Well, what they would do, right, is individually cut all of the strands that made up of a cable, right? And once they cut them all, like
peeling them back.
Exactly, one after the other. Can you see what Yoshi's doing up here close?
Well, I'm doing it the hard way, trying to do it with my fingernails, which
works much, it's much easier to use an X-Acto knife, right? Yeah. And in theory, you'd end up with 48 separate little strands, and you would bundle them together either, with overnetting, or you could use zip ties or whatever it was. And the idea is that when you were done, you had something that looked not quite as good at this, but basically didn't block much air inside of your system. Because as soon as you get a bunch of these cables in there, flat ribbon cables tend to obstruct airflow. That's bad. Now, what a lot of people said, we had a lot of angry engineers, was like, you can't show people how to round cables because it's going to ruin system performance and hard drive data integrity is going through the roof. You people are evil. And we've never actually, have you?
No. I mean, most of the motherboard manufacturers ship with rounded cables now. They don't even ship with flat cables. So
because, these are considered the hot ticket for the modders and stuff.
It's better airflow. I mean, you run a cooler computer, your computer's going to run better. Simple as that.
I mean, some of them are in some really ugly colors, Mike, and that's about the biggest drawback we can think of for them at this point.
I like this lovely green they use for this one.
Yeah,
it's a good example of ugly.
But I mean, literally, Mike, I got to be honest with you. As far as we can tell, there is no bad side effect to using rounded cables. They improve airflow inside of your system, and in a lot of cases, they can be considerably easier to route because they bend and they flex much more. So you don't end up doing that classic ribbon cable origami thing where you're folding it around corners by bending it and hoping that once you've done that, you can still actually use the cable. Makes sense, Mike?
Yeah, it does.
Do we miss anything you were worried about, or?
No, I've pretty much modded my computer to the hilt. And this is the last thing I have to do. I have an LCD in it. I've got the old cathodes. I've got a window in the side. I've cut a hole in the side. So this is the last thing I really need.
You know what? You shouldn't have any problems with it. There's a ton of people that they make custom cases, custom colors, and it's much easier than doing what Yoshi's doing, which is individually cutting the strands and bundling together.
And you don't have to worry about accidentally cutting one of them and starting from scratch.
You never have to fold up cables again, Mike. It's a good thing. Mike, thanks for calling in on the NetCam to get a TSS shirt for your very own use. Right now, though, back in the corner, ladies and gentlemen, Leo Laporte has a quick tip. Leo?
If you only have one wireless access point in your network, you do not need this next program. But if you have to manage multiple wireless access points and you keep forgetting the WEP key, the settings, the DHCP information, the DNS, and all that stuff, you might want to take a look at this. I got an email the other day from Ben Brady, who wrote this program, he said, to give back to all the people who have helped him. It's the WEP Wi-Fi key generator, and it's a great way to keep track of all the routers that you use, sort them by manufacturer, by IP, by expiration, by domain and frequency. It also has some very cool things. For instance, if we have an SSID named the Screensavers, we can create a scrambled SSID for security reasons. You still broadcast it, which, by the way, I do recommend. It'll make your interactions faster, but it scrambles it so it's a little bit more secure. It also generates WEP keys for all kinds of WAPs, and that's one of the problems with WAPs is some of them use a passphrase, some of them use a simple password, some of them use a hex number. This will generate a WEP key from any passphrase you enter that's compatible with all wireless access points. It'll even use a file on your hard drive or on a floppy to create a new WEP and very secure WEP passkey. Very nice job from Ben Brady. He continues to work on it. You can download a free copy at clariondeveloper.com/WEPGen. I'll put a link in the article that we'll put on the website, thescreensavers.com. If you manage more than one Wi-Fi access point, this is just the right program for you, and it's absolutely free. Back to you guys.
Leo, that was an outstanding tip. Don't go anywhere. Kevin will show you how to run Windows inside of your Macs. And after the break, meet an MIT student who took his school project and turned it into a lucrative new business. And look, we just made a rounded cable. All this and so much more when the Screensavers continues.
Welcome back to the Screensavers. I, of course, I'm Sarah Lane. Coming up in this half hour, Kevin shows you how to run Windows on a Mac. If it gives you better performance, yes or no, you'll find out. And learn how to run your network without a hub. 2 very good reasons to stay tuned. But now, our next guest uses his creativity and tech-savvy smarts to solve everyday problems. Sounds good so far. He's the winner of the 2004 Lemelson MIT Student Prize for creating a desktop printer that makes eyeglasses. It's my pleasure to welcome Saul Griffith to the show. Thank you so much for joining us, Saul.
Thank you, Sarah.
All right. Now, let's just start off. What is this prize exactly that you won in 2000?
My friends at MIT call it the sort of Nerd of the Year award.
Okay.
But it actually is, the Lemelson was one of the guys, I think he has the 3rd most patents of anyone ever, and he sort of spent all that money to create this foundation to sponsor innovation and invention in America.
Cool. So tell us a little bit more. This is actually a printer, a desktop printer. Is it really?
Okay, so that's a problem with the press release.
Okay. Let's make the distinction right here.
So maybe 2 years ago I said it's about the size of a desktop printer, and everyone then said, oh, it's a printer for eyeglasses.
Right.
But the analogy to a printer is a little bit similar in that it's one machine that can make any number of a very large variety of lenses. So you program this like you program a printer, but instead of outputting PDF pages or whatever you're printing out, it actually will output whichever lens you program that machine to produce.
Now, this sounds like a great idea, but this actually came from something that's a little more serious. We were speaking a little bit about your trip to Guyana before the show. Why don't you fill us in on how it came to be?
All right, so I was made aware a long while back that roughly 1 billion people in the world need eyeglasses but don't have access, and that's less to do with ultimately the real cost than with the way they're distributed. And so I actually went on a mission to Guyana to have a look at a clinic there to provide eyeglasses for people, and that was one of these recycled eyeglasses initiatives, and that seemed like a pretty inefficient way when you had a look at it of doing the whole thing. It took us a whole week to do a couple hundred people. So from that I actually decided that what was really required is a way to make best quality lenses in the field such that you could sell those machines to a whole bunch of people everywhere, and then they go and solve their problem locally.
So what's the biggest problem with the current way that eyeglasses are manufactured and distributed that's going to be
made redundant?
Right, exactly.
So right now they're made in a central factory, generally somewhere in Southeast Asia. And if you take the average population, there's probably 1,000 different lens types to cover a given population. And so if you're a local optics store, you have to have multiple copies of each of those 1,000 different lens types, which means out the back of your local optics shop is kind of a little mini warehouse with all of these things, and that costs a lot of money to keep. So if you're in a small village in sort of
in a third world country, this is just not feasible.
It's unlikely that they'll have that. So I took the approach of, well, why not make a small machine that you could ride up with on a motorbike in the back of a truck and make the eyeglasses on demand using that machine.
Okay, well, my interest is definitely piqued. How exactly does this device work? I know we've got some video here, so hopefully you can explain it while we're seeing a little bit of it.
Can I watch the video
Yeah.
while I talk about it?
Roll it. Okay. Ooh.
All right. So actually, what it does is uses minimal energy surfaces. So the same way a droplet of water on a leaf makes a perfect lens, I use that same principle. So
that looks sort of like oil.
What I'm actually doing right now is I'm pouring an acrylic monomer, so that's the same as in a normal pair of eyeglasses, onto a sheet of car window tinting film. That's the silver thing. The car window tinting film is actually pulled under pressure into a perfect lens shape. And you'll see sort of an ellipse beneath that shape, and that ellipse defines the cylinder or the astigmatism of the lens. So the shape you set that ellipse to determines the 2 axes of the lens. The pressure determines the power of the lens. Then you pour that acrylic in, then you hit it with a UV light, and 3 minutes later you've hopefully got perfect lenses.
That is fantastic. How long did this go from concept to implementation? How many years?
Well, the first prototype actually took about a week or a weekend.
You're a smart guy, aren't you?
No. Well, the first prototype produced pretty rough lenses, but at least it proved the concept that it should work. And so then I guess I've been working on it on and off for about 18 months, whilst also doing my PhD in a completely different area.
Which you just finished your thesis the other day.
I finished on Thursday.
All right, yes, hand for him. That must feel good. I know that feeling. Now, this is obviously a wonderful idea. What does it take now to, obviously you want to commercialize it somehow. What do you do from this point forward once you have a good invention that people like and has won awards?
Right, so I'm actually moving out to San Francisco and starting a little engineering firm with some friends. So we're going to further develop the technology. We're also working on an eye testing device that will go with that that's very low cost. It'll be basically like a pair of glasses that you put them on, you look at the world, and it says your prescription is this. And so we're still working on getting the marketing exactly right. Unfortunately, selling a billion things really cheaply, which is kind of what you have to do if you want to get them everywhere, isn't a hugely lucrative business prospect. So we're trying all sorts of creative ways, micro-entrepreneurial models, etc., to actually get it out in the field and working.
That's awesome. I was looking at your website. You have a lot of inventions. In fact, you brought one today. Let's look. What is this one called?
This is the latest toy. This is electronic rope.
Okay. E-rope?
E-rope.
All right.
So this is just the cutesy lights at the end of it. The really interesting thing is happening inside this rope.
Okay.
So I took a metal polymer fiber mix and then braided it into a rope in just the right architecture so that this is actually its own strain sensor. So if you watch the lights as I pull the rope, so if I let the tension
there you go.
off,
You see the green,
and
then the yellow.
So the more I pull, someone, and it maxes out, and then you let it off, on and off.
So a practical use would be maybe tugging a boat or something that's very heavy, where it's like if something breaks, it's a really bad thing, and you need to know before it does.
Yeah. So we're looking at it for a safety application. So things like lifting slings when you're lifting cargo containers, etc., or towing boats, or tying down boats on moorings, or maybe even something like safety belts, where it would be nice to know the deceleration on the passengers, so you could, decelerate them a little slower. Things like, we're looking at applications like that.
Gotcha. One last thing before we go. There's a comic strip. It's well worth mentioning because I looked at the website. What is it?
Howtoons.org.
Howtoons.org. Now, I was saying this sort of reminded me of my old highlights magazines from yesteryear, but these are sort of fun ways to teach kids how to do things, right?
Yeah, we're trying to do really subversive engineering education where basically kids build something that's just plain fun to do and kind of mischievous, so you can learn how to basically build a marshmallow blow dart or...
there was a human arrow was one of them.
Yeah, human arrow is one of them.
Mothers everywhere are like, curse you, Saul, curse you.
Well, if you look at the video, the kids are wearing helmets and they're being flung down a corridor using basically bicycle inner tubes as the elastic in shooting these kids out there.
Well, I wish you the best of luck in all of these endeavors. It sounds fascinating and great. If you want to learn more about all that Saul has to offer, what he's working on, it's at saulgriffith.com. Thank you so much for joining us. Now stay where you are. Yes. Big hand for him. Stay where you are. We've got more coming up on the show. First, we're going to save some cash, find out how to share your network without a router, hub, or switch. But up next, forget PCs, forget them. You're going to run Windows right inside of your Mac. That's all when the screensavers continue.
Let's check in with the fine folks over at Tech Live to see what's coming up tonight.
Hello, boys.
Jessica Corbin.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. So hot and humid.
Yeah.
That's the forecast for the Summer Games in Athens. I was talking about you guys, too.
Oh.
Hot, humid. I don't know.
The hot and humid boys are the screensavers.
That's
Next
right.
on Tech TV.
So how can the athletes keep their cool? Well, with a little help from technology, of course. And tonight on Tech Live, we'll show you some gear that has U.S. Olympians covered in the heat department. I'm just thinking the less there is, the better, because those guys and ladies are just so fine, they're so buff, the less the better. Naked Olympics.
Naked athletic hotties. Jessica's bringing them to you on Tech Live right after the
after your show. Yes.
Thank you, Jesse.
Thanks, Jesse.
Good stuff.
Now, last week, I showed you how to run OS X inside of Windows. Mm-hmm. And this week, well, it was full of bugs and holes. We had all kinds of problems. Right. It really wasn't that stable.
It ran.
It ran.
Kind of.
You can't really launch any programs, but it ran. So I want to show you the other side. I'm going to show you how to run Windows inside of your Mac.
It's just, so that last one, part of the issue is that last one that was so amazing is it was a free open source program.
Right.
So that you could download for nothing.
Right. This costs some money.
How much does this cost?
Retail, it goes for $130, and that's without an operating system, though.
So about $230.
Right. So you have to buy Windows 98, Windows ME, XP, whatever you're going to run on it. Now, one thing, though, I wanted to do, the reason I was setting this up, if you take a look at what I have here, I have a PowerBook. This is a 1.33 gigahertz PowerBook G4. I put a gig of RAM in here, and I wanted to see if I could replace my desktop with this PowerBook. sounded like...
Because, we got a couple applications we use for production here that won't run on OS 10.
Right. So what I have here is, let's take a look at it. This is Virtual PC, and I have two different setups, one with Windows 98. I'll show you how the main screen looks here. Let me go back to here. One with Windows 98 and one with Windows XP. So you can see here's the two installations I have. And then all you have to do is click on the Startup button right to the right of that there, and it'll launch and actually boot the operating system in emulation. It's emulating an x86 processor. So a bunch of different settings here. We can go into Settings under Windows 98, and you can see you can allocate exactly how much RAM you're going to use. In this case, I bumped it all the way to the max. I gave it 512 megabytes of RAM. You can see to the right here. You can go up and down depending on how much memory you have in your system. I found that I started off with 512 on the laptop, and it was just dog slow. So I had to put the extra 512 in there to kind of give it a nice little performance increase.
Okay.
Also, disk drives. Here's the Windows 98. Here's the main drive here. Now, your disk drive, it doesn't use your Mac drive. Obviously, there are different file system types. So it creates a virtual file, much like a VMware does, a single file which your entire operating system lives within that file. Other things like booting from the CD-ROM drive you can set up. Also, what I like is sharing folders. This is cool because if you have documents that you share between your Mac and your PC, you can set up sharing here, and it'll create a folder that is common on both and that both can read and write to.
Okay.
So it's pretty cool if you want to get documents to and from your virtual operating system. Also, your mouse click, standard stuff here, USB, all that good stuff. We're going to click on Windows 98 and click Start Up, and now this is where it launches the virtual machine. It's actually launching an emulated machine. You can go into the BIOS, much like you can in the VMware, and I'm going to say boot from hard disk. And it's pretty fast. With Windows 98, it's pretty much on par. I don't have any exact number for number, how it compares to the 98 machine. But
was it workable?
Yes, it's definitely workable. I mean, you can launch your web browser within a second. I'll show you here once it gets into the operating system. But
it's a strong emulation. It takes about as long to boot as Windows 98.
Yeah, that's true. It takes quite a while. Well, not too long. See, it's already getting inside of Windows right now. But there we have the network login. I'm just going to cancel out of that. And it's very workable. Now, Windows XP, on the other hand, that's a much more robust operating system. I've run into it's stable as could be, but it's very, very slow.
Like 3 gigabytes of RAM.
Right. You would need a desktop with a larger cache and the processor, faster hard drive. Here's Windows 98. Let me show you how it's running here. The mouse automatically just moves over. I mean, standard things like going into your control panel just takes a couple seconds. And it's not too bad as far as moving the windows around and actually getting some functionality out of it. If you go into Launch Internet Explorer, let me move the mouse, double-click on that. You can see it's not too bad. I mean, that's pretty fast.
That's pretty workable.
And it works for the applications that I needed to port over. Are you going to be able to run anything like any type of games or anything like that? No way. There's no way you can't emulate that. But if you need certain applications, like you said, we have a couple here that we have to get to. It's a great alternative if you want to just run a Mac, which is kind of fun. Virtual PC 6.1 bundled with Mac Office 10, or it can be purchased separately as a standalone. Information can be found at Microsoft.com/Mactopia. All the information there and prices and different bundles that you can buy.
Very cool. Ladies and gentlemen, coming up after the break, share your network with your buddies on the cheap. Coming up after these messages. Be sure to catch tomorrow's show. Highlights from this year's Ultimate Gaming Convention, E3. Joshua Brentano is going to bring them to you, plus a free 20 megabyte OS they say will never die. And cyberpunk author Bruce Sterling discusses his new book, Zenith Angle. And who knows what else he's going to tee off on. That's all on tomorrow's edition of the Screensavers.
Nice.
Good stuff.
Now, Vance joins us on the phone from Victor, Idaho. Hey, Vance.
Hey. Hi, how's it going?
How you doing?
Good.
How can we help you?
I was wondering how I could network two computers without using a hub, switch, or a router.
Pardon me while I fling an Ethernet card across the room, do they both have Ethernet cards?
Yeah.
Both have Ethernet ports?
Yeah.
Can you get a crossover cable?
I'm not sure.
Okay. What you need is basically, rather than a regular Ethernet cable, right, you need a crossover cable. If you're not real familiar with the way they wire stuff together, basically they flip a couple of the wires. If you do a search on wiring crossover cable on the web, there's a bunch of pages like this where they basically tell you which colors go where. They flop a couple wires for the crossover cable. There it is. And the end result is that the two Ethernet cards can communicate to each other directly. Actually, that's not the right graph, but little colored wires. You get the idea, Vance. You can buy them from like CompUSA or computer stores or order them in.
Now, the only problem about buying them, though, that I've seen is that they are very, very pricey, and for no reason. They're just flipping a couple things that you could do yourself, and you're going to spend a lot more money. So if you know a friend, if you have a friend that has some crimpers, and you can pick up the RJ45 heads for next to nothing, a little pack of them at Fry's or any electronics, Radio Shack even has them, Do it yourself if you can.
Right.
And you might have a little problem the first time you're doing it. Make sure that you push this all the pins all the way in. You have to make sure you get a really good connection. It's a little bit tricky for the first time user.
And you got to use the crimper.
Yeah.
If you don't try to do it with a screwdriver or an ice pick or something, it won't work. Got to have a crimper.
But they're getting cheap now. I've even seen the crimpers at Radio Shack for like $10, $15.
Vance, are you running Windows XP? Oh, we lost Vance. Anyhow, if you're running Windows XP or later in the versions 98, if you go to Network Connections, establish a new connection, that'll help you set up internet connection sharing on the one system, and that'll set up an IP network, and then you can play video games and all that good stuff over your newfound crossover cable. Good luck, Vance.
Cool. Thanks, Vance. Now let's check in with Dan for a helpful tip.
Thank you, guys. Out of the box, the iPod is great. You can do anything you want with it with just a little hacking and a little modding. Now go to screensavers.com/show notes and read Macworld Magazine's Chris Breen's article on iPod hacks. You'll learn how to rip the battery and the hard drive out to replace it, make it run on PC or Mac, and a whole bunch more. It's a lot to do. But anyways, there you are. Next up, we're going to read the final emails, see what's on your mind. All that with the Screensavers continues.
If you're going to be in the Bay Area, Friday, May 21st, you try to check out the Technology Arts Festival at Cappuccino High School. We'll put the deets up in the show notes. Had a crew from Cappuccino High School in here today. They're lightly enthusiastic.
Sounds fun.
Good stuff, guys. We'll get that information up on the web for you.
Sarah,
Yes?
time.
It's time for emails. The first one, this is a serious one. It comes from Dan Correa in New Brunswick, Canada. I'm willing to forward $20 from my PayPal account to the Patrick Norton Does the Running Man on Live TV fund.
Yes!
If this is acceptable, please respond. I'll pay when I see it happen.
There's almost no amount of money. Oh, Patrick, come on. If I said $300, would you do it? $300 of my own money right now.
We're getting closer.
See, there's no,
there is.
You wouldn't do it.
But I see, I know you. I work with you.
Yes.
You don't have $300 in your pocket.
That's true, that's true.
And if you see the Running Man, I'm never going to see that $300. Don't get me wrong. It's not that I don't trust you.
Would you do it for $300 though?
If you had $300 in your
Right
pocket,
here?
you might find out. Do we have another email question?
Yes. Let's get technical, shall we?
Not even close.
Next one from Brian Kendall. He says, can you take the video card from the Xbox and install it into your computer, if you so desire?
Should I trash my $150 Xbox to put a $43 video chip? Actually, the truth is, it's not a video card.
You can't even take it off the motherboard.
Yeah,
it's already soldered on the motherboard, so there's no way you could
Yeah.
possibly do that.
Unless you were an electrical engineer with a lot of spare time, but you can get better graphics performance out of like a $50 to $70 graphics card.
Yeah.
So no, and you wouldn't want it anyway.
Yeah.
Trust us.
Next one comes from Spencer. He says, I'm hoping that someone has taken advantage of the wireless technology of Bluetooth to come out with a wireless headset for gaming, perhaps? You guys know anything about that?
You don't need Bluetooth for go to a headphone. Go to any like online Crutchfield. They sell wireless headphones. They're cheap. They're easy. They work well. By putting Bluetooth in, you packetize the information, make it more complicated, and you lower the audio quality. Go buy a set of wireless headphones.
That's the new hot term right now. You have to have a Bluetooth device.
I need a personal area network so my cell phone can talk to my video gaming machine. No, you don't. Go buy a regular set of wireless headphones or get a longer cable.
Yeah. Longer cable is the easiest thing.
Yeah. Buy decent
That's
headphones.
probably like a 12-year-old kid. He's probably crying at home right now. Patrick said I don't need Bluetooth.
No, you don't need Bluetooth. Go buy a nice set of Grados for $60 and a decent cable. Trust me, it's better.
Another quick one?
Quick one. If you have a problem with your CD-ROM reading CDs, is there any troubleshooting that he can do? This is from Edward.
Start by making sure the CD's clean.
Yeah, I'd buy a new CD-ROM drive if you're running in multiple. I mean, CD-ROM drives are so cheap now.
If no CD-ROM will work in it, spend $17 buying a CD-ROM drive.
That's it for this edition of Screensavers. I'm Kevin Rose.
And I'm Patrick Norton. Thanks for joining us. We'd like to thank our guest, Saul Griffith. See you folks next time. Go see